It was supposed to be a simple, relaxing hike. Just me, my friends, and our dog in the middle of the woods. But that's when we noticed it. A snake. Not just any snake. One that seemed to be watching us, moving with us, never letting us out of its sight. The first few hours of our hike were exactly what we hoped for. Peaceful, calm, and full of fresh air. Max, our dog, was bounding ahead, nose to the ground, sniffing every tree and bush. The sun filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the trail. We joked around, took pictures, and soaked in the quiet beauty of the forest. But then something shifted. I was the first to notice it. A flash of movement in the underbrush, barely visible, yet impossible to ignore. At first, I thought it was just a small animal scurrying away, but then I caught a glimpse of a snake, slithering smoothly, its dark scales glinting faintly in the sunlight. It didn't feel right. The snake seemed different. Instead of darting away, it kept a steady pace, almost as if it was following us. We stopped, unsure whether to be alarmed or amused. After all, snakes were common here. Maybe it was just crossing paths. But then it happened again and again. Every time we paused, the snake appeared nearby, on the trail, beside the rocks, even coiled around a fallen branch, watching. Max started growling low in his throat, his hackles rising. He had never behaved like that before. Usually, he was playful and carefree, but now his ears pinned back and he kept glancing nervously over his shoulder. The woods suddenly didn't feel so safe anymore. We tried changing direction, veering off the path, and quickening our pace. But no matter where we went, the snake followed. It moved silently and swiftly, never losing sight of us. It wasn't aggressive, not yet, but the way it tracked our every step sent a chill down my spine. The air grew heavy with tension. Each snap of a twig, each rustle in the leaves, made us freeze and look around, expecting to see that snake materialize from the shadows. The dog whimpered once, pulling at his leash, desperate to run but tethered. For the first time, the thrill of adventure was replaced by a creeping dread. Something about this snake wasn't natural. It wasn't just following. It was hunting as the sun climbed higher and the shadows shifted, our nerves frayed tighter. The snake wasn't just following anymore. It was watching us with an intensity that felt almost intelligent. We couldn't shake the feeling that it knew exactly where we were, how we moved, and what we planned next. Max's behavior grew more alarming, usually fearless. He began growling whenever the snake appeared nearby, his eyes locked on the flicker of scales among the leaves. Once, he barked sharply and lunged toward the bushes, but the snake vanished before we could see it clearly. It was like a ghost, slipping in and out of sight at will. The air itself felt charged with something ominous. Then, we found the first real sign, a patch of flattened grass near where the snake had been lingering, crushed as if by something much larger. That's when the stories we'd laughed off earlier came rushing back. Tales of strange creatures in these woods, warnings from locals about unnatural happenings, and dangerous snakes that weren't like any normal animal. Suddenly, the snake's presence wasn't just a coincidence or an unfortunate encounter. It was something else, a warning or maybe a trap. Tension exploded when Max suddenly froze and barked wildly, dragging at his leash. Following his gaze, we spotted the snake emerging from the bushes. But this time, it wasn't alone. There were others, smaller snakes, darting out like shadows, surrounding us in a slow, deliberate circle. The fear became tangible. We realized that the snake wasn't just stalking us. It was corralling us, herding us somewhere we didn't want to go. Max growled protectively, standing between us and the advancing reptiles, his body tense and ready to defend. Heart pounding, we debated our next move. The woods that felt like paradise hours ago had transformed into a trap. The once friendly forest seemed alive with unseen eyes, and the snakes were the hunters. That moment changed everything. We weren't just hikers anymore. We were prey. Panic set in as the circle of snakes tightened, their silent bodies weaving through the underbrush like liquid shadows. Max barked fiercely, his body low and tense, but even his courage felt small against the overwhelming presence around us. The woods, once a place of peace, now felt like a cage closing in fast. We knew staying put meant danger, but moving meant risking a confrontation with the snakes. Our eyes darted between the dense trees and the dark shapes curling the leaves, searching for any sign of a path that might lead to safety. Then Max did something unexpected. He tugged hard on his leash and suddenly bolted forward, nose pressed to ground, leading us off the trail and into a narrow, overgrown path. Against every instinct, we followed him, trusting the dog's instincts over our fear. The forest around us thickened, branches scraping our faces and roots threatening to trip us. We moved quickly, hearts pounding as the snakes hissed faintly behind us, their presence a constant, eerie soundtrack. Minutes felt like hours. Every snap of a twig made us freeze. Every rustle sent adrenaline surging. Max stayed alert, growling at shadows and refusing to slow down. His connection to us was the only thing keeping our hope alive. Suddenly, the trees began to thin and a sliver of sunlight broke through. We burst out onto a rocky slope that overlooked the trailhead where we'd parked the car, a sight that felt like salvation. But relief was brief. The snake was still there, coiled on a boulder nearby, watching us with cold, unblinking eyes. Without hesitation, we sprinted down the slope, Max leading the charge. The forest seemed to hold its breath as we broke free, the snake retreating into the shadows, as if it knew the hunt was over, for now. Back in the safety of the car, the tension didn't fade. We looked at each other, shaken and silent. Max lay panting but alert, as if guarding us even now. That night, sleep was impossible. The snake's gaze haunted my thoughts, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was still out there, waiting. What had followed us was no ordinary snake. And somewhere deep in those woods, it was still watching, waiting for the next time we return sometimes. Nature holds mysteries far beyond what we expect, and underestimating the signs of danger can turn a simple adventure into a fight for survival. Respect the wild. Trust your instincts, and never ignore the quiet warnings that something isn't quite right.